Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headache stack. Restlessness to hell and back.
Friends, today we've got another exciting compact gaming tablet to check out, the Red Magic Gaming Tablet 5 Pro, which will be released globally as the Red Magic Astra 2. Powered by Qualcomm's flagship Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 processor, this tablet isn't just built for top-tier performance, it also introduces a unique liquid-based night cooling system that gives it a seriously eye-catching look. Red Magic clearly wants users to push this tablet to its limits. Since Android to PC game compatibility has improved quite a bit recently, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to see how well it handles FPS-style PC games. So without wasting any time, let's jump straight in. Big thanks to my tech partner over in China for providing this footage. I really appreciate the support in making this video happen. Hey everyone, Stella here from techiestreet. If you're into staying updated with the newest gadgets, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our latest tech content. Here it is, the Red Magic Gaming Tablet 5 Pro. Honestly, just look at this thing. It looks incredible. While it carries over the overall design style of the previous 3 Pro, including the signature transparent side window, the internal design has changed quite a bit this time around. Instead of the internal cooling fan used in the older model, Red Magic has replaced it with its new night cooling system, where you can actually see liquid moving through dedicated channels inside the tablet. This technology isn't completely new, though. Red Magic first introduced it on the Red Magic 11 Pro last year. At the time, we explained how it worked using liquid-filled channels combined with a piezoelectric ceramic micropump that continuously circulates coolant throughout the device. Unlike traditional PC liquid cooling, however, this system isn't designed to directly cool the processor. Instead, it works more like an active heat spreader, distributing the CPU's heat evenly across the entire body of the tablet for better thermal balance. Red Magic also made the whole setup far more visually appealing by keeping the cooling channels transparent and intentionally leaving space around them so the flowing liquid is clearly visible. Once you switch on the RGB lighting, those cooling channels transform into glowing light strips. The result is an incredibly futuristic, cyberpunk-inspired design that really stands out. Personally, I think the final effect looks fantastic. Beyond the night cooling system, the Tablet 5 Pro still relies on a large vapor chamber cooling plate, along with liquid crystal thermal materials to efficiently transfer heat away from the chipset. Another thoughtful design choice is that Red Magic continues using a completely flat rear panel, just like its gaming smartphones. Even with the camera module, the tablet sits perfectly flat on a desk without wobbling, making it much more comfortable to use during gaming sessions. Moving over to the display, the Red Magic Gaming Tablet 5 Pro features a 9-inch OLED panel with a resolution of 2400 by 1504, a nearly 16:10 aspect ratio, and an ultra-smooth 185 Hz refresh rate, along with 10-bit color depth. Since most compact gaming tablets still rely on LCD displays, this OLED panel immediately gives the 5 Pro a significant advantage in both picture quality and responsiveness. For gamers, OLED also means virtually no ghosting and incredibly fast pixel response. To further improve the gaming experience, Red Magic has equipped the tablet with Synaptics S3930 touch controller, delivering a native 300 Hz multi-finger touch sampling rate, along with an impressive 2000 Hz instant touch response. The company has also focused heavily on reducing accidental touch interruptions, and the display even supports wet hand operation, so sweaty hands during intense gaming sessions won't become a problem. One feature I'm especially happy to see this year is the addition of dual USB Type-C ports. We've seen this idea on a few other gaming devices before, but it's the first time Red Magic has included it on one of its tablets. Whether gaming in landscape or portrait mode, charging while playing becomes much more convenient. Both ports support 80-watt fast charging and bypass charging, allowing power to go directly to the system while minimizing battery heat during long gaming sessions. The shorter Type-C port also supports the high-speed USB 3.2 Gen 2 standard for much faster data transfers. Since we're talking about power, let's cover battery life as well. Entertainment tablets need to last, and the Red Magic Gaming Tablet 5 Pro packs an 8300 mAh battery. Using Geekbay's tablet battery endurance test, it managed an impressive 9 hours and 23 minutes. That's more than enough for a full day of watching videos, browsing, and plenty of gaming. But of course, this is a gaming tablet, so gaming performance is what really matters. And when it comes to today's popular titles, the Red Magic Gaming Tablet 5 Pro handles them effortlessly. During our Arknights testing at 1036p resolution, it maintained a smooth 60 FPS throughout a midnight run, while drawing just 6.9 watts of power, with the tablet reaching only 42 degrees Celsius. Even in demanding scenarios like Iron Man Gold mode running at 1080p, performance stayed locked at 60 FPS, and the 1% low frame rate remained very solid. Although power consumption climbed to 8.9 watts under these heavier workloads, temperatures still stayed below 45 degrees Celsius. That's an excellent result and really highlights how effective the cooling system is. For these types of games, this tablet barely breaks a sweat. Now it's time for something even more interesting: PC gaming. We tested several PC games on the Red Magic 11 Pro last year, but over the past 6 months, the Android-based Windows gaming ecosystem has evolved quite a bit. One of the biggest improvements comes from updates to the Linux kernel, specifically the introduction of a new technology called NTSync. The purpose of NTSync is to reduce the performance cost associated with thread synchronization when Windows games are translated to run on Linux. Modern PC games rely on many different threads working simultaneously. Graphics rendering, loading assets, audio processing, physics calculations, and player input all operate independently while constantly communicating with each other. These threads frequently need to wait for each other, exchange signals, or share resources. On Windows, the NT kernel includes its own synchronization system to efficiently coordinate all of these operations. However, when Windows games run on Linux, or Android, which is based on Linux, they depend on compatibility layers like Wine. Previously, Linux didn't offer a native synchronization interface that matched Windows NT, so Wine had to recreate this behavior in user space, introducing additional CPU overhead and reducing performance. With Linux kernel version 6.14, the NTSync driver has officially been integrated into the mainline kernel. This allows compatibility layers like Wine and Proton to perform Windows-style thread synchronization directly through the kernel, instead of simulating it in software. By moving this work to the kernel level, translation overhead is significantly reduced, resulting in smoother performance and improved efficiency when running Windows games on Android and other Linux-based platforms. On Android devices running the latest integrated kernels, enabling NTSync is actually pretty simple. All you need to do is add the appropriate command inside your PC emulator, then use Terminix to verify that NTSync is active. For games that put a heavy load on the CPU and rely on complex translation, this can deliver a noticeable improvement in performance. There's more good news too. Qualcomm's open-source Turnip GPU Driver now officially supports the latest Adreno 800 series graphics processors. That finally opens the door to translating newer DirectX 12 games. On top of that, compatibility layers like Wine and DXVK have received major updates as well. With all these improvements combined, I had high expectations for what this Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 powered tablet could deliver. If you don't want to use third-party PC emulators like we do, there's another option. Harmony's built-in PC emulator lets you sign directly into your Steam account through the gaming interface, making the whole experience much easier. We also enabled Harmony's well-known Destroyer mode, which unlocks the CPU and GPU to their maximum performance, so Windows games have as much processing power as possible. For our first test, we picked the visually impressive Stellar Blade. It's considered one of the best optimized PC releases in recent years, so the big question was whether this Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 tablet could handle it. Instead of playing it safe, we jumped straight into 1080p resolution using balanced graphics settings with super resolution enabled. This is a much tougher workload than the 720p tests we've done before, but the results were immediately encouraging. Even the game's menu looked noticeably sharper than what we'd seen in previous translation tests. Once gameplay started, frame rates stayed comfortably above 50 FPS and frequently climbed close to 60 FPS, making the experience feel smooth and responsive. During more demanding moments, especially combat sequences, performance occasionally dipped to around 40 FPS, but overall, the game remained very enjoyable to play. Honestly, Stellar Blade seems to be optimized exceptionally well. Since it handled that so comfortably, it was time to raise the difficulty and try something newer. Our next challenge was Pragmata, Capcom's latest sci-fi adventure. Although games built on the RE engine are generally well optimized, Pragmata features much more complex graphics and heavier visual effects. Running it at 1080p with balanced settings definitely seemed ambitious, and I wasn't entirely sure the tablet could keep up. Surprisingly, it handled the workload much better than expected. Visual quality remained impressive for a mobile device, while frame rates stayed above 40 FPS most of the time, with certain scenes reaching nearly 50 FPS. Overall, power consumption climbed beyond 18 watts, but despite the increased load, gameplay stayed smooth. Even during combat-heavy sections, frame rates remained above 30 FPS. The recent improvements to the compatibility layers have clearly made a much bigger difference than I anticipated. Of course, we couldn't stop there. It was finally time to take on Elden Ring. I still remember trying to run this game a few years ago. Back then, even at very low resolutions, it struggled to maintain 30 FPS. Now we have a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 tablet along with all the latest emulator improvements, so I was curious to see just how much things had changed. One challenge with Elden Ring is that it doesn't support super resolution. If you choose 1080p, it's rendering at a true native 1080p, which places a much heavier demand on the hardware. Fortunately, the game itself isn't particularly well optimized on the CPU side, meaning performance doesn't vary dramatically between 1080p, 720p, or even 540p. After enabling NTSync, native 1080p with TAA delivered around 30 to 40 FPS while exploring the open world. Honestly, that result exceeded my expectations. Performance is now comparable to some older integrated graphics PCs and even approaches what the Steam Deck can offer. Thanks to native 1080p rendering, image clarity is excellent, making Elden Ring surprisingly enjoyable to play on this tablet. Finally, it was time for the ultimate test, Cyberpunk 2077. We've experimented with this game on mobile devices before, but only at relatively low resolutions, where we barely managed playable frame rates. This time, we wanted to see how far we could push things by targeting 1080p with super resolution enabled. The results were genuinely impressive. Most of the time, the game hovered around 30 FPS, occasionally climbing close to 40 FPS. Even in busy city environments packed with visual effects, it managed to stay near the 30 FPS mark. The only noticeable slowdowns happened while driving through the city, where frame rates dropped more noticeably, but overall, it was still perfectly playable. In fact, it reminded me of playing the previous generation console version of Cyberpunk. The combination of respectable frame rates and sharp image quality made it surprisingly enjoyable. So, has the performance lived up to your expectations? Today, we pushed the Red Magic Gaming Tablet Pro 5 through a wide range of demanding PC titles, and the progress made in Windows game translation on Android has been far greater than I expected. Not too long ago, we were excited simply because a handful of well-optimized games could run at 540p or 720p using upscaling. Now we're seeing graphically demanding PC games running smoothly at 1080p with much better stability than before. It genuinely feels like this technology is getting very close to being practical for everyday gaming. Of course, a big part of that success comes from the hardware itself. The Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chipset, combined with Red Magic's advanced cooling system, gives this tablet the power needed to sustain these workloads. On less capable hardware, achieving this level of performance simply wouldn't be possible. Overall, the Red Magic Gaming Tablet Pro 5 is an incredibly impressive and versatile little gaming tablet. But now I'm curious, what do you think it should sell for? Well, the starting price in China for the base model is 4,999 yuan, which works out to roughly £556 in the UK or around $736 in the United States. And that's it for today's hands-on review. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, save it for later, and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more tech content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!